What is x cubed minus 1 divided by x minus 1? So when you're dividing by the divisor. You're dividing the dividend by the divisor. So that helps us set this problem up where the divisor is on the outside. The dividend is on the inside, but there's a problem with this dividend. It has no x squared term and no x term. And we need to fill those terms in with zeros just to hold their place. It'll make it easier for us to follow the process here of long division so that we don't get confused with where we're putting things. It will allow us to keep everything lined up by term. So let's start with how many times x goes into x cubed. If we divide, we subtract the exponents, and that is 1x squared. Let's multiply that by each term of the divisor. So x squared times x and x squared times negative 1. Then we're going to subtract, so that changes those signs so that the first term adds to 0. Then the second term, 0 plus 1, is 1x squared, or just x squared if you prefer. Same thing. And then we bring down the next term, so it's a 0, but it'll help us keep everything lined up. Start all over again. How many times does x go into x squared? So we can divide, and that's 2 minus 1, so that's a positive x. Then multiply by each term of the divisor. X times x is x squared, and x times negative 1 is negative 1x. Then we're going to subtract, so change those signs so that the first term is 0. And then 0 plus 1 is 1x, or just x if you prefer. Bring down the next term, negative 1. Start all over again. How many times does x go into x? That is 1. So let's multiply 1 times each term of the divisor. 1 times x is x. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. And then we're going to subtract, so that changes those signs, which adds to 0, and actually adds to 0, meaning there is no remainder. Our quotient is x squared plus x plus 1. What if the terms are not in descending order, like this dividend here? So let's set this up where our divisor, 3x plus 2, is going into our dividend. So if these terms are not in the proper order, we have to place them in the proper order. So the highest degree is x to the third. There is no x squared, so I'll hold that place. Then there's a negative x, and the constant is a positive 5. So we want to make sure we have those in descending order, fill in zeros for any missing terms. And our process here, divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. So let's start with the first term. How many times does 3x go into 9x cubed? 9 divided by 3 is 3, and x cubed divided by x, we're going to subtract 3 minus 1. So that'll be 3x squared for our quotient. Then we multiply that by each term of the divisor. So 3x squared times 3x is 9x cubed. 3x squared times 2 is 6x squared. Then we need to subtract, so that changes those signs so that the x cubes disappear, or add to 0, right? 0 minus 6 is negative 6x squareds altogether. We want to bring down our next term, minus x, and start all over again. How many times does 3x go into negative 6x squared? Let's divide. Negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. And the quotient rule here, 2 minus 1, gives us a negative 2x for the quotient. Let's multiply that negative 2x times each term of the divisor. So negative 2x times 3x is negative 6x squared. Negative 2x times 2 is negative 4x's. Then let's subtract, so change the signs to subtract those terms. That adds to 0. Negative 1 plus 4 is 3x's. Bring down our next term, plus 5, and start all over again. How many times does 3x go into 3x? 3 divided by 3 is 1, and so that'll be a positive 1 for our quotient. 1 times 3x is 3x, and 1 times 2 is 2. So we can subtract that multiplication, and that adds to 0, but 5 minus 2 is 3. So in this case, we do have a remainder. How we write the remainder, it's a positive 3, so I'm going to put plus here for our quotient, and we take that remainder over the divisor, 3x plus 2. So our quotient includes this remainder part as part of it. And you could definitely check that by multiplying by your divisor. Make sure you get the dividend. But that is our answer.